If you think you can't be hypnotized, this video is for you. I get so many people who send me messages or leave me comments or even tell me in person that they've tried to get hypnotized, but it just doesn't work, or they just aren't hypnotizable or can't be hypnotized. But the reality is that this is simply not true. Anybody can be hypnotized, and we know this is true because we all experience a very similar state every single night called dreaming. When we dream, our mind goes into a trance-like state where the ideas, the suggestions, the reality that we experience becomes and feels real to us in our minds. And in fact, it can feel so real in our minds that we can even experience it physically. If you've ever had a really sad or a really scary dream, and you wake up feeling really sad or really scared, even though nothing happened, it was all just in your head, but it felt and became so real in your head that it became real in your body as well too. In fact, we experience this throughout the day. We experience thinking thoughts or hearing something that makes us feel sad or that makes us feel good or happy or scared or whatever it may be. They're simply suggestions or ideas, but they become and feel so real that we have a real experience. And now when you're in a hypnotized state, you're taking those suggestions intentionally from the hypnotist or from the person who's facilitating and giving that experience to you. But at the end of the day, it is very similar to the way you would experience it when you're awake or when you're dreaming or when you're asleep. Everybody psychologically experiences this phenomenon of allowing ourselves to experience what we believe. So anybody can be hypnotized. And so if you're someone who maybe in the past hasn't been able to experience hypnosis, first want to say, know that you can be hypnotized. So many people are simply just convinced that they can't be or that they won't be or it just doesn't work on them when that's simply not true. Now, the second tip that I'll give you, the first tip is just understanding that you can be hypnotized. The second tip that I'll give you is to understand what actually is happening when you are hypnotized. A lot of people have this misconception that they're going to be mind controlled or they're going to be forced against their will to have a particular experience. For example, if you were to get hypnotized to have your hands stuck together, people think, well, I'm not controlled to do this, I'm still in control and I can just pull my hands apart. And it just didn't work and I wasn't hypnotized. But the reality is that's not what's actually happening. Mind control hypnosis only works and only exists in the movies and in fiction. It's not how hypnosis really works. Hypnosis, again, is by allowing yourself, it works by allowing yourself to become immersed in an idea to the point that even if it's not real, it doesn't matter to your mind that it's not real. You convince yourself that it is and you experience it like it is. Just like if you were to be dreaming that you're riding a dinosaur, your mind's not thinking, well, wait a minute, I couldn't be riding a dinosaur because dinosaurs aren't real. Your mind doesn't care that dinosaurs aren't real. You experience it and you dream it and you feel it just like it is. And similarly, if you're in a state of hypnosis where your hands are stuck together, some part of your mind, just like the part of your mind that understands that what's happening in your dream isn't real, knows that it's not really real or not true that your hands are stuck together. But just like your mind doesn't care when you're dreaming, when you're in a state of hypnosis, you choose to let your mind get to the point that you don't care that your hands aren't really stuck. You simply let yourself become so focused on the fact that they are, you feel like they are, and you can create that sensation of stuckness, of heaviness, to the point that you wouldn't be able to pull them apart, not because you're physically incapable of doing it, but simply because you're focused so intensely on them being stuck that you experience that reality of them being stuck. You're not controlled, and so many people, when they're in this situation of being hypnotized to think their hands are stuck or in a similar situation, they say, well, they're being hypnotized to think my hands are stuck. Well, okay, no, they're not. I can pull them apart. And they're focused on this idea of not having them be stuck. They're focused on disproving their experience or focused on showing themselves that it can't work. And again, hypnosis is the process of experiencing what you believe, what you focus on. If people are focused on trying to make the experience not work or prove to themselves that they can't be hypnotized, well, no wonder it's not working. In fact, you're simply just hypnotizing yourself to not be hypnotized. So by thinking you can't be hypnotized, you're actually proving to yourself that you can be. And if that didn't make any sense, understand that it actually makes all the sense in the world, because that's how your mind makes sense of the world, is through processing and experiencing these things called beliefs. So if you're struggling to get hypnotized, don't try to second guess it. Don't try to disprove it. Don't try to focus on the opposite of what the hypnotist is saying, because then it will not work. And you're simply just screwing yourself over from the process by choosing not to let yourself be immersed in the idea. But if you want it to work, then choose to focus on what you want to experience. Let yourself be really focused and immersed in that idea, in that reality that the hypnotist is giving to you. Now, another reason that people often struggle to get hypnotized is they get lost in their own thoughts, or they overthink, or they over-rationalize or overanalyze the experience. And if the hypnotist is saying, have your hands stuck together, imagine your hands are stuck together, focus on the idea of being stuck, in their mind they're going, are my hands really stuck? How stuck should they be? Should I be squeezing my hands? Should I not? Should I be focusing my fingers on my thumbs? What part of my hand should be stuck? I don't really know what should be. And they're just constantly going with these different thoughts and ideas, but they're losing focus on the main idea that the hypnotist is giving them in that experience. So if you really want to let yourself be immersed in that state of hypnosis, in that state of focus, you got to start to allow yourself to not be distracted by your own thoughts. In the same way that if you were trying to fall asleep at night and your mind is racing, how quickly should I fall asleep? Should I fall asleep like this? Should I relax like this? Should I think about this? Oh, I forgot to do this today. I have to do this tomorrow. My goodness, all this is going on. You make it much harder to fall asleep by getting too caught up in your own head. But you fall asleep not by making yourself fall asleep, but simply by allowing yourself to fall asleep. Simply by letting go and letting your body, your mind, do its thing. Same thing in a state of hypnosis. The more you try to overanalyze and overrationalize and overthink the experience, the less you're in the actual experience itself. It's not about trying to make yourself be hypnotized or force yourself into it, simply just by letting go and being open to the experience and allowing the experience to happen to you. And you may not be able to stop the distracting thoughts from coming, but you still have the choice to not focus on them or not focus on those thoughts. Simply let yourself focus completely on the idea, on the suggestion from the hypnotist, so that is all that matters. You could even imagine that the only thing that matters in this moment is the sound of the hypnotist's voice, or are the words coming out of their mouth, or are the suggestions or things that they're telling me. And lock yourself in on that and only that. In fact, another thing you could do to help it work even better is you could imagine that the hypnotist's suggestions and words are your own thoughts even. If the hypnotist is saying, focus on my voice and begin to let yourself relax, you can say, in your mind, you can think to yourself, I'm focusing on their voice. I'm letting myself relax. And you can mirror their suggestions in your own mind and allow them to become one, to synchronize with your own thoughts, where the things that the hypnotists are saying are simply just echoed back in your mind, creating this funnel of focus, allowing yourself to concentrate completely on that idea. Because at the end of the day, nothing will happen that you don't let yourself happen. So many people get scared even of the experience, where they think that they will lose control. Another reason people struggle to get hypnotized is because some part of them, either consciously or unconsciously, is nervous or is scared that something is going to happen that will make them uncomfortable or unsafe, or that they'll do something that they'll regret, or that they feel like they shouldn't. And so they don't let themselves get too immersed in the experience just in case something happens. But just like you know that it's safe for you to fall asleep at night, your mind will wake up if it needs to. You wake up when you hear your alarm, or if someone's knocking on your door, or if the smoke alarm or fire alarm were to go off near you, you would wake up when you hear that sound, because your mind would realize that it's unsafe and it needs to do something to fix that or to change that. The number one priority of your physiology, of your body, of your brain, is survival. It's keeping you safe. And your brain, your mind, your body would never do anything to intentionally put you or keep you in harm's way. So if anything were to ever happen in a state of hypnosis that made you feel unsafe or made you feel uncomfortable, your mind would simply just not focus on it, or it would come out of the hypnosis and choose whether or not it wanted to go back into the hypnosis at one point or another. You're always in control. You're always safe. Nothing bad will ever happen to you. You can't get hypnotized against your will or against your control. You always are in control. So if you're worried or you're nervous about letting your guard down or letting go completely to experience a state of hypnosis, know that you're safe. Know that nothing will happen. It's not the way that it works. It's not mind control. Again, people get terrified because of what they've seen in the movies, but the movie hypnosis isn't real. Real hypnosis is simply understanding that your mind experiences what you believe, which happens every day anyway, whether you're awake or whether you're asleep. The ideas, the suggestions, the thoughts that you get from your friends, from your family, from media, from social media, from your own brain, your own thoughts, affect and experience how you feel and how you experience life. And hypnosis is no different. It's simply just a more direct, funneled approach where you allow those suggestions to come in specifically from one source and let yourself become immersed in those ideas and in that reality. And for some people, it may help to do it with a hypnotist that you trust. If you've seen my videos and you like my style of hypnosis, then you may be more willing to let yourself be immersed in that experience if you trust the way that I do the process, or another hypnotist, or a friend of yours, or whoever is facilitating that experience. That trust in that person can definitely help too. And a lot of times, what's happening or what's happened during that day may make it easier or harder for you to experience hypnosis. So don't get discouraged if maybe one day you try it and it doesn't work, in the same way that maybe one day you have a hard time falling asleep because you're really anxious or really stressed, but another day you're much more relaxed and at ease and you fall asleep much more easily. Same thing with hypnosis. There are some situations or environments or circumstances where you just may be more closed off to it, or may be more nervous, or may have a harder time focusing, whatever it may be. I've had many situations where I hypnotized one person and it worked really well, and that same person tried to get hypnotized later and it didn't work at all. Or the opposite was true, where I hypnotized one person and it didn't work at all, and they decided to try it again at another time, another point later in life, and then it worked really great. It worked really well. It goes both ways. So sometimes the hypnosis may not work, but that may not be your fault. That doesn't mean that you can't be hypnotized. It doesn't mean that it couldn't work in the future. That just means maybe in that moment you were distracted, you were in your head, you were nervous, you were stressed, you were scared, whatever it may be. So hopefully these tips in this video help you sort of understand what's happening when you're experiencing hypnosis a little bit more, and especially help you understand that you can be hypnotized, that anybody can be hypnotized. And if it didn't work, try out some of the things that I suggest in this video to help it work more effectively. And don't give up on the experience. I have a bunch of hypnosis through the screen videos on my YouTube channel. I'll link them in the description. You can check them out and try them out. I'm sure if you're watching this video, you've tried them out in the past before. But I want you to give yourself the chance to really focus on that experience, really give yourself permission to allow it to work. Again, you're not going to be mind controlled. That's not what's going to happen. You're not going to be made to do anything that would make you be uncomfortable. You couldn't, even if that was how it really worked, because your mind simply won't let you. You're always safe. You're always in control. Hypnosis, again, is not mind control. It's allowing yourself to have more control over your mind to the point that you experience what you believe. And hypnosis is a really fun way of doing that. So hope this video helped. Hope these tips help. Happy getting hypnotized, happy hypnotizing, happy experiencing hypnosis. Hope it works. Leave some comments if this video helped you, and maybe you tried hypnosis through the screen and came back to this video and left a comment to let me know how well did it work the second time or third time, or however many other times you've tried it in the past. But thanks for watching. Hope this video helped, and until the next video, we'll see you then. Goodbye.